Okay, this lesson is on allegations. A concentration is the strength of a solution or mixture, usually expressed as a percent or as a ratio. A dilution is making a weaker solution from a concentrated solution in a base. And to do that, we use our formula C1Q1 equals C2Q2. An alligation is mixing two products with different percent strengths of the same active ingredient to make a final product with a strength in between. And you can use a grid to do an alligation. So, for example, you need to prepare 150 grams of a 20% cream using 30% stock cream in a cream base. How much is needed of each? Now, we start off, right? We start off with 30% stock cream and a cream base. Now, if you have a base, it's usually automatically 0% because it has no activity. And then you have a 30% stock cream. So you set up the alligation grid, and in the upper left-hand corner, the first box, goes your higher percentage, right, that you start off with. And in the lower left hand, you have the lower percentage, which is a 0%. That's the cream base. And in the center, you have the desired amount. That's what you want to make, right? So you need to prepare 150 grams of a 20% cream. So your desired is 20%. Now you subtract going diagonally from the upper left hand corner to the lower right hand. So 30 minus 20, that gives you 10, right? 20 minus 0 gives you 20. And then you add up this right hand column. So 20 plus 10 gives you 30, right? Remember, only positive numbers can go into the alligation grid, right? And also, the numbers on the right-hand side of the alligation grid that we just calculated represents the number of parts per ingredient when read straight across, okay? So this means that there should be 30%, or better yet, this means that there should be 20 parts of the 30%, and at the bottom, 10 parts of the 0%. Right, of the cream base. So now we have added the numbers in the right hand column, and that's the number of total parts, right? This is the number of total parts necessary. Right? So now that we have determined the number of parts needed for each ingredient and the total number of parts to be used, we can set these up and find out how much of each we need, right? To make this final concentration. So we take the 20 and we divide it by the 30, the total parts, and you multiply it by the amount you want to prepare, which is 150, and you get 100 grams of the 30%. Right? And then at the bottom, we do 10 divided by 30 times 150, and you get 50 grams of the cream base. Okay, now an important tip to remember is the total amount of each should add up to the total amount. So after we have calculated how much should be prepared of each, right, we add up what we have calculated, which is the 100 plus 50, and then you should get 150. And this should be the same as the amount that you wanted to prepare to start with. All right, let's go on to the next example. So the next example says you receive an order for 40 mLs of 4% boric acid solution. The pharmacy has in stock a 1% and 6% boric acid solution. How much of each solution is needed to fill the order? So remember, we start off with the higher that we have in stock and the lower, right? Upper left-hand corner, 6 is the amount we start off with, right? The higher of the two. Lower is the 1%, and in the center we have the desired, what we want to make in the end. So the order calls for 40 ml of 4% boric acid solution. That's what we want to make. So we put that quantity in the center. Now we do our subtraction. So 6 minus 4 gives you 2. 4 minus 1 gives you 3. Add up our right-hand column. 3 plus 2 gives you 5 total parts, right? Now draw our arrows. And what does this mean? This means 3 parts of the 6% is needed and 2 parts of the 1% is needed to prepare this, to fill the order, basically. So we do 3 parts of the 6% over the 5, which is the total parts, times the amount we want to make, or volume. It's the 40 ml, right? And that gives you 24 milliliters. Now we do 2 divided by 5. So 2 parts of the 1% over 5 total parts times 40, the amount we want to make, equals 16 ml. Now we add it up. 24 plus 16 gives you what? 40, right? It should give you 40, the amount that we originally wanted to make. Next problem. Prepare 500 mLs of a 1 to 5 solution using a 1 to 10 solution and a 1 to 4 solution. What quantities will be used of each stock solution to make the 1 to 5 solution? So the first thing we want to do here is we want to change each ratio to a percent first. And to do that, we set it up as a fraction first. Divide, and then we get our decimal, and then we multiply by 100, correct? So here we have 1 divided by 4. That gives you 0.25. You multiply that by 100, or you just move the decimal over to the right twice, and you get 25%. The same goes for 1 to 10. So you do 1 divided by 10, that gives you 0.1, and you move the decimal to the right twice, or you multiply by 100, and that'll give you 10%. Now to get to 1 to 5, you do the same thing. 1 divided by 5 equals 0.2. You move the decimal to the right twice or multiply by 100, and that should give you 20%. Now, from that, we have to look at our problem again and understand the question that's being asked and what information is given to us. So we know that we have to prepare the 1 to 5. And this 1 to 5 is equivalent to what? We've already calculated. 1 to 5 becomes the 20%, right? And 1 to 10 became what? The 10%. And 1 to 4 became the 25%. Okay, and it says using a 1 to 10 and a 1 to 4 solution. So these are the two solutions that we're going to use. That's what they have in stock. Now, the higher of these two is the 25%, correct? So we put that in the upper left-hand corner. The lower of the two is the 10. And the desired goes in the center, which is the 20%, right? Subtraction, 25 minus 20 gives you 5. 20 minus 10 gives you 10. Add up the right-hand column. This gives you 15 total parts, right? So then we have 10 parts of the 25% is needed. And to calculate how much of that we're going to use, right, we need 10 divided by 15, which is which is the total parts, times 500. That's the amount we want to prepare, and we get 333 mLs. And we know at the bottom in the right-hand corner of our grid, we have 5 parts of the 10% is required, right? So we take the 5 divided by the total parts that we calculated, which is 15, multiply by 500, and you get 167 mLs. You add this up to check your answer. 333 plus 167 should give you 500 ml. If it doesn't, you know you got the answer wrong. Okay. Another one. In what proportion should you combine a 1 to 2 soaking solution and distilled water to create a 100 ml of a 1 to 20 solution? So same concept, same idea. You have to basically change each ratio to a percent first, right? So 1 to 2, you do 1 divided by 2 gives you 0.5. You move the decimal over to the right twice or multiply by 100, and that gives you 50%. And then you do 1 to 20, gives you 0.05. Move the decimal to the right twice or multiply by 100, and you get 5%. Okay, and it says the question states that in what proportion should you combine? So combine, here's our keyword. That means add a 1 to 2 soaking solution and distilled water. Distilled water doesn't have a percentage attached to it. It doesn't have a percent activity. It's considered a base. So that gives you, that's 0% right there. Right? Now we're going to set up our grid. Put the higher of the two that we started off with, which is what? The 50%, right? This 1 to 2 became the 50%. So in the lower left-hand corner, we're going to put the lower of the two, which is a 0%. And in the center, we have our desired quantity, which is the 1 to 20, right? So it says to create a 100 ml of a 1 to 20 solution. So desired is 5, right? Because we figured out the 1 to 20 is actually 5%. 50 minus 5 gives you 45. 5 minus 0 gives you 5, right? And add up the right-hand column. 45 plus 5 gives you 50 total parts, right? Now we know that 5 parts of the 50% is required. So 5 over 50 times 100 ml that we want to make gives you 10 ml. 45 parts of the 0% is required. So you do 45 over the total parts, which is 50, times 100 ml, which is the amount we want to make, gives you 90 ml. So 90 plus 10 gives you 100 ml. And that's the same as what we wanted to prepare, right? And this concludes our lesson on allegations.